And Mr. White, before you begin the meeting, just so you're aware, we are live right now. So when you're ready, you just do your thing, all right? And I am recording, so you're all good to go.
All right. So welcome, everyone. Can I get a motion to accept the meeting of the Scituate Board of Health Monday, March 22nd, 2021 at 6 p.m.?
So moved.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So tonight on the agenda schedules, we have a couple of different things. One is health impacts of the wind turbine with Ellen Casper, discussion of private well owners with Becky, and trash and recycle hauling regulations with Claire. So with this, guys, what I'm going to do is we'll start with the discussion of the health impacts of the wind turbine with Ellen. And I'm going to leave it up to 15 minutes per discussion. So I know there seems like there's a lot of people on. I just want to keep it so we have the impact and can start to get that and be on this call and give people a chance to do it. So can I get a motion to accept that we'll do the 15-minute increments on each scheduled items?
I make a motion to give 15 minutes to each of the scheduled items on today's agenda.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. With the ground rules there, first one is discuss health impacts of the wind turbines. Ellen, are you on?
Yes, hi.
How you doing?
Good. Nice to put faces with names finally. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Long time of emailing to strangers. So first of all, I just want to make it clear that I am all for alternative energy. I have nothing against wind turbines. I didn't even know that this wind turbine was being built until we saw the blades in the Widow's Walk driveway. We were excited about it. I mean, I'm a big environmentalist. We couldn't wait for it to go up. We thought it was beautiful. We were excited, to have alternative energy, and we couldn't wait for it to start turning. And as soon as it started turning, immediately we were, please turn it off. I don't think anyone had any idea the health impact, the nuisance, the noise, the vibration that would be emanating from this thing. And over the years, I mean, it's been since 2012, we have lodged hundreds and hundreds of complaints. We've gone to the Board of Health, we've gone to the Board of Selectmen, we have begged people to shut the thing down. I mean, there are people that live closer than I do. I live a half a mile away. And even last night, with windows closed, it was waking me up all through the night. I work in Boston, I'm a nurse. It was especially difficult during COVID when we're trying to really take good care of ourselves. We know, and we've sent lots of information about the health impacts of sleep deprivation, of noise on people, and it's not good for your immune system. We have neighbors who have been affected by heart conditions. We have ill neighbors that can't sleep because of it. There's all sorts of other impacts, not just from the noise of it, but from the vibration, the infrasound, the strobing. I don't get the strobing, but the neighbors that are closest, the McKeevers, have horrible strobing. And if you are in that area when strobing is happening, it's nauseating. And if you have problems with your inner ear, you can get dizzy, you can have tinnitus, you can have balance problems, you can be nauseous. And I've had all of those things with this wind turbine. And the lack of sleep it's horrible. It's just horrible. And people don't complain for all these years unless it's a problem. I mean, over the years, there are plenty of people that don't speak up. They're bothered by it, but they've had such a difficult time with being heard that they just give up. they just don't know what to do. And it's equally as difficult, if not more difficult, to deal with the problems of a town that is putting money over your health. And that's what it's boiled down to, essentially, is that the money is much more important than protecting our health. And I know that the Board of Health they have the authority and the responsibility to protect the citizens' health. And with all these years of complaints, they should be able to stop it. They should be able to shut it down. They should be able to investigate this as a nuisance. They should be able to take, proper steps to shut the thing down, regardless of, the money that's involved. This is our lives. It's an intrusion in our homes. We were just looking at putting in a screened-in porch, and we sat on the porch last summer, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the thing is whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And we're like, why would we do that? And people have no idea what an intrusion it is on their privacy and their homes. That's all I want to say.
Okay. Did someone else want to add something?
Yeah. I think you probably know me from before. David Hardy from 22 Gilson Road. I appeared for you people back in 2018 to try and help you put together a WECS, a wind energy conversion system bylaw, to try and protect others from the same problem. This thing, what I didn't talk about that night was how it affects me, where it puts, actually, besides the sleep deprivation, which is a difficult thing for me because I'm an amputee. And when I can't sleep, as this thing does, I get very tired. And when I'm tired, I trip. I fall down and hurt myself. But it also puts my heart in atrial fibrillation. And I'm undergoing doctor's care for that right now. When I'm away from the thing like I am right now, I'm fine. But when I get near the thing, whether it's the noise or the infrasound that you can't hear, my heart goes in AFib. I wake up a lot of mornings with headaches from the thing too. There are a lot of health issues involved in this that the Board of Health has a responsibility to investigate, not just look at the noise that was done back in 2012. That's an entirely different issue. This is health issues we're asking you to look into. There are bills before the state house right now, I think House Bill 2015, where they want to put together a commission. That's been stalled for a while for political reasons, but there are groups of people that understand in our government that there are problems with this thing from a health point of view. I just wish you would take the time to investigate it properly. I know back in 2012, 2 members of your board, actually 1 member, Russell Clark, came out to my home along with the health officer at the time of Jennifer Lamb Sullivan, and they listened to the thing during the daylight and said, wow, that thing is noisy. Yet nothing was ever done or investigated. And 8 years later, we're in the same position, and we're imploring you to do something about it. You have the right under state statutes to work independently, regardless of any other group of parts of our town government, to investigate this thing and take action, whatever that may be, shut it down or whatever. This is your responsibility, and I'm hoping that you'll owe up to it and do it. Thank you.
Okay. Mark?
Yes. For some of you who don't know me, Mark McKeever, 151 Driftway. I live 640 feet from this machine. Currently, I look pretty good since being up since 2:30 this morning and not being able to fall back to sleep. The thing's spinning right now. It's southwest, and the ringing in my ears and the pain that I have in my chest right now is not very comfortable, let's put it to you that way. There's been a lot of, banter back and forth, and I know, we as neighbors are trying to get this, or would like this thing to be turned off, and it puts your board obviously at everyone's, you're at the bullseye of this now. I just would love to, if you have any apprehension or if you feel 1% that you'd like to shut this thing down, you know, some of the board members from the Board of Selectmen, you know, they'd say that they'd walk by my house and they've seen the flicker come by my house. You don't get the full effect of what this industrial wind turbine does until you're sitting in my living room or sitting in my kitchen or sitting in my kid's bedroom to really understand the harm that this thing is doing to us. I'm 49 years old. I had a heart attack back in July, and from the lack of sleep and the stress, the ringing in my ear, it all, could we pinpoint that? I have no idea, but I know 49-year-old men don't typically have heart attacks and have to get stents put in to, you know, to continue to live and support my family. But again, I don't want to beat a dead horse. If you would like to come to my home, the flicker is gone now that we moved the sun back. It starts when we turn the clocks back in the fall, and then it basically is gone when the clocks move forward for the spring. But this is not a good thing. And I know a lot of people in town like it because, you know, it saves the town money, which we're all for, you know, but this thing was sited and built in the wrong spot. And I would really hope that you folks will take a really, really hard look at this thing. And I would love it to be shut off so I could really get 8 hours of sleep at night, because like I said, I've been up since 2:30 this morning, and I volunteer my time to coach football at the high school level. I do a lot of things in this town, and it's just, you know, for a lot of people that can sleep, I tip my hat to you, because I haven't been able to sleep. My wife hasn't been able to sleep, and my 2 kids haven't been able to sleep in the last 8 years since this thing's been built. So do your best. We're pulling for you guys. Please help.
Okay. So I know that I've heard from the selectmen, and I see that Karen's on there. When is they are turning it off at night? Has that already started? Drew, do you know offhand?
I believe it starts April 15th till October 15th, 11 a.m. till 6 a.m.
Okay. So that's one part in there that hopefully that's a big part, especially where you know, the part of talking at night, the sleep missing. I also know that we've gone out, or there's been some surveys done through the Board of Health. And I think, you know, going back to Dave, you talking of, you know, we've been doing this and all that, a lot of our hands, what we were waiting for is the surveys that the Board of Selectmen were doing, and that on getting it. And I haven't gotten the full endpoint of what they've gotten as results. You know, you hear bits and pieces. I've been on the board, you know, and hearing that, you know, they did the surveys. Some people were eligible that were opened up with, you know, arms to let them come in and see, or on their property. And then I also know that there were some that, you know, didn't want to get in on it. So I have to, as the chairman, really get the finalized things that, you know, my board, Wendy and Karen, can kind of talk about those pieces, and maybe get some of the selectmen to help with that on that.
Valerie Vitale, 34 Driftway. Can I speak?
Yep.
I've been complaining since it first started to operate. The engine noise at certain times of the day and in the night is unbearable. It's a repetitious engine noise. It sounds like a plane circling. Now, this is an inferior model turbine, I understand, because other companies, American companies, would not build it in that location. So they had to go to a one that's was made in China, and with stolen technology from this country. And because of this, the bad placement, the location, we get reverberations, the way the topography of the land is shaped, we get the noise pushed right towards us. And because we're up elevated a little bit on Third Cliff. The noise comes right at us when the turbine is turned in a certain way. The blades push the sound of the engine right towards us and it reverberates off our walls. Now, I was sitting in here last night in my living room, fairly new windows, all of them closed, of course, sitting at my computer and I could hear it vibrating against the walls of my house. So I've lived like this and I've complained to the Board of Health and the selectmen, they know me well. And other towns along the South Shore and South Coast, their Board of Selectmen and their Board of Health have intervened on the behalf of the people who are disturbed. And we keep getting an argument from the selectmen. You know, it's not as bad as it seems. Well, this person doesn't think so. So we've been, you know, it's disgusting that we've been at this for so long a time. I've called the Board of Health so many times and then now I call the selectmen and I never get, I get, okay, we hear what you're saying, but nothing from the Board of Health ever. So I'm a little frustrated and angry.
And like I said, from the Board of Health, everyone says, oh, Board of Health can make that decision. And I understand, you know, with nuisance and the way we can, but the other parts too that we have to play is, you know, if we've got money being spent on surveys and that, again.
That doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. You're
Well, it
It
does
doesn't
matter.
matter. Well, you're
I
an
don't know about
independent,
surveys.
you're an independent entity that should have nothing to do with the Board of Selectmen. It has nothing to do with compliance. It has to do with our health and our complaints. It has nothing to do with compliance, and no one should be waiting for a test, especially the testing that has been done.
Well,
The
what
testing
survey?
that has
What's a
been
survey?
done. No, I think he's talking about the Epsilon testing that's been done. You
The
know,
testing, and then there's been people gone out to different addresses and done some surveys of what you're kind of bringing up of the wind and the noise and the flickering and things.
Never happened at my house.
Okay, well, I'm not sure where it's gone and I don't have that list. But, you know, that could be that part there.
I know most of the people that are affected and nobody's told me that anybody from the Board of Health has come to visit them.
Not the Board of Health. I'm talking about the assessments of the surveys.
Don't confuse noise with the health issues, Mr. White. We're talking about.
Okay. First of all right, I understand where we're at with that. I'm not, you know, there's two different things. There's noise, there's health, there's surveys of both flickering and all that. Our health things, I understand that, but it's not, it might be affecting you and affecting Mr. McKeever. But what I'm saying is we also have the things from the town that are doing the different surveys. That's what I'm talking about, that they've been out to look at windows and things to that nature. That's what I got to get updated on and where we stood on those. You're asking me to go in cold turkey, let's shut it down tonight and end it. That's, I don't have that
I'm
power.
asking you to exercise your authority in the proper way and go out and evaluate this. from the Board of Health.
investigate it.
It's 12 years. It's not like rushing in here. It's been 12,
Guys,
is it 8 years, 12, what is it? 8 years, 9 years?
Point, please?
9 years.
Just
All right,
a quick point.
go ahead.
And again, we're not attacking you guys or anything like that, but I just want to make a quick point. The last meeting that we were on with the selectmen, one of the selectmen made a great point in the sense of if there was a business, let's say down the harbor, that was, you know, serving food that made people sick, or they weren't following the protocols for the Board of Health, you know, you folks would step in, obviously, and either assess the problem and slap them on the wrist or give them a violation of whatnot, whether it's, you know, turning the music down at 11 o'clock. And this gentleman made the point that, you know, this wind turbine is technically a business, and this business is harming the residents of this town. So I don't understand why the people can't, the boards per se, can't act like this is a business and do something about it, because it's harming its residents and I can't go outside and let's say if I live next to the restaurant, I can't go outside and listen because people are running crazy. You'd step in and say, hey, listen, you got to shut the doors or turn the music down. It's the same thing. This is a business. And although this business doesn't open at 7 o'clock in the morning and close at 6 at night, it operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. And it's what they're doing to us is wrong. We all know it. I mean, let's be honest here. We all know it. The residents have been barking and barking and barking. And it's like, we're tired of complaining. It's like, it's exhausting. And I know you folks are put in a horrible position because you obviously aren't privy to some of the conversation that has been going back and forth for the last 7 or 8, 9 years. But again, think of it as a business, and it's harming us at night. Shut it down all night, all the time. That's the right thing to do. You know.
Mr. Kelly, you wanted to say something, and then I mean we've got to move on. We're 20 minutes in. You're on mute, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you. I've only been doing Zoom for a year now. My name's Jerry Kelly. I live at 56 Orland Road. I'm a neighbor of the wind turbine. I am not as impacted as these other people are simply because of the wind direction and the when and how it operates based upon wind direction. I'm here to support my neighbors who are not crackpots. These are reasonable, studied people who have an issue that other towns' boards of health in southeastern Massachusetts have addressed, but we have not. We talk about the testing protocol. Testing protocols will determine the outcome, and please take a look at Epsilon, who's tested the noise violations, and they have never represented a citizens group. They have only represented the for-profit wind turbine operators. So, you know, you're coming in with a foregone conclusion rather than working with somebody who has got an interest in coming up with the absolute correct testing protocols and the violations.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, I promise on my part, I will talk to our other board members, Wendy and Karen, which Karen is newly appointed this year, and Wendy has been on a couple of years with myself. And I will make it a point with Drew to circle back with the Board of Selectmen and try to get something back out to either Ellen, and I see you shaking your head. But I mean, that's what I can do. If you guys think tonight I'm going to make a dead decision, I'm not.
No, we don't expect that, but we expect you to do whatever you do independently of the Board of Selectmen, because that's your job. Your job is not to talk with the Board of Selectmen. Your job is to listen to us and make your decision, do your investigation, and protect us. It's not to talk to the Board of Selectmen and ask them what you're supposed to do about this. I mean, that's just not what a Board of Health is charged with doing.
All right. Well, I'm telling you right now, I don't think I'm comfortable to make a decision that a town goes over and listen to me and then me start to get harassed on things. I'm going to look for solutions. I'm not going to come out and if this is what you think and make a hard decision and say, yep, the turbine is gone, tear it down, because you guys have the legit points that you brought up. But then there are other people in the town. Now I'm going to get circled back. Why did you do that? Now we got to pay $40,000 in electricity.
All about the money.
I'm just saying.
Because it's the right thing to do, Mr. White. It's the correct thing to do. You're exercising your powers correctly.
It's our health.
Okay.
You're not a politician. You're the Board of Health.
Okay.
You know what, can I just jump in just because I'm new to this whole discussion? You know, I've seen, the Mariner and read the articles in the Mariner. Obviously, I know it's been an issue for a while in town, but I think to Doug's point, it does make sense for us as a kind of a new group to actually look at all the information that is out there and come up with some ideas, as Doug suggested, on how we can help. I think we clearly hear what your concerns are. And I think that, I met with Doug, I don't feel comfortable making a decision tonight either without all the information. So I think that we need to kind of meet offline and gather all that testing and all that information and discuss it as a group.
I think that that nobody expected a decision. I think we just expected to be heard and to have you people show concern for the well-being and health of our neighborhood. And there are so many more people who are affected who aren't right here in your face tonight, but maybe, coming around to the neighborhood, there's certain times when it is really, all day today, the noise was unbelievable for a daytime operation. The noise today was incredible. So, some days it's the loudest noise in our neighborhood. At night is the only noise in our neighborhood. So, so some research looking at how other boards of health along the coast have dealt with turbine health issues might also be effective. And really because we have some adversaries on the Board of Selectmen who are very pro the company that operates the wind turbine.
Okay.
For whatever reason, and not pro citizen. So,
Okay.
So that's what we
Well,
were asking.
Here's what I would ask. Ellen, were you the one that reached out to Drew about getting on for this call? And I know, Dave, I've met you before when I started with the board and stuff. How about, Ellen, I'm making this commitment, and I maybe think Wendy and Karen can help me on this. But if you could give me the addresses of like where Dave lives, yourself, Valerie, I know where Mr. McKeever is. And then if in that email, you can come back and tell me, what times are the bad parts. I don't care if, like you're saying, it's 2:00 in the morning. If I have to, I will make a commitment to go there and sit either in front of the wind tail or sit in front of Mr. McKeever's house or your house. And I'd let you know ahead of time, just so I don't get pulled in by the cops, but to kind of hear what you guys are saying. I mean, again, I don't live there. I mean, I've driven by there. I, see the windmill on. I've been at the golf course and, at different times, but I've never heard the whistlings and the spinning through windows and that people have spoken about. So I would give that commitment on my part as the chairman, if you wouldn't mind getting their addresses and kind of an email. You can shoot it right to Drew or the Board of Health. He'll forward it to me and I can get it out to Karen and Wendy. And if they can help me, and then we can even get back to you, hey, what time is it at this time or whatever, and then reschedule another time to come on in the near future. I mean, I know April 15th, it's, closed down on that.
I think it's May. I don't think it's April. I think it's May.
Yeah, May.
I think it's May.
Okay.
I thought it was May.
The other thing you can do, Mr. White, if you look in your files, on September 25th of 2012, you find a petition with 26 families with their addresses that signed, giving you all of the health of ill effects from the wind turbine.
Okay.
I hope you haven't thrown the file out.
Well, that would be in their file. I don't have Board of Health files in
No,
my.
that's the Board of Health file.
Okay.
I
I don't have those. Drew, do we have?
I'd have to look in the archives. I mean,
Okay.
I here in 2012. I'd have to check.
Okay.
Well, we've been calling
Whole file on it.
continuously.
Okay.
We've been calling and writing,
Listen,
so.
I'm telling you what I'm gonna do. You're now throwing it back that we have it. We can check, and if not, we can come back to Ellen to put this together. I'm trying to help. Now we're being attacked that you should have it. It should be in your file. I'm trying to be.
I wasn't attacking you. I was just trying to say.
Okay,
additional
but
information.
I'm just trying to help with what I can do to start.
Thank
And
you.
then I'll promise that we will put you back on an agenda. Don't think this is gonna happen in a week, but let me circumvent.
9 years.
and see. Huh?
I said it's been 9 years, so we don't expect things to happen like
Okay.
that. We know they won't.
Good, I appreciate that, and would you mind doing that if we find out, Ellen? for me?
Is there a problem with us having your Scituate email rather than having to go through Drew?
No, I don't want my email. That's my personal, I'm an elected.
You don't have a Scituate email?
No,
No.
no.
There's no Board of
And-
Health email? Because that's where we've been sending our, I guess we've been sending our complaints to the
That's the one that would
nurse.
go, and then it gets forwarded out from Drew
you.
or Joan to myself or whatever, if there's something for us to be looking at and observing. And again, too, in the case there too, we've had, I've been there now 3 years, but Wendy just came on 2 years. Karen's just on, Jennifer's not here. Drew just came in within the last year and stuff. And that's not an excuse on our end. I mean, I understand where you're coming from and from that. So
I don't think we view of that as an excuse. I think what it is, my friend, is that the prior chair boards who voted to install this machine 10 years ago, they're all gone, right?
mhm.
And I understand we thank you for your loyalty to this town, but now that they're gone, and it's like, the Board of Select cast, they have to clean up this mess, and the same thing with you folks. And it's like, I feel bad that we're not attacking you folks, but it's just, we're trying to bring you up to speed as far as your knowledge and what how much we're suffering here.
Mhm.
And you shouldn't have to be cleaning this up because of some, board members that voted this in, and the townspeople thought it was a good thing. And it's just such a big, it's like a big
Mess.
pile of mulch over next door at Go Green. It's just never going to go away until, somebody decides to step up. And I understand you don't want to have a bullseye on your forehead. And it's like, I have a bullseye on my forehead everywhere I used to go. Oh, you're the guy that lives there. Why would you build a house there? Why would you do this? What? Well,
Mhm.
because I have a view of the North River and I live in Scituate. Why wouldn't I want to? You know what I mean? So it's
No,
like,
I hear you.
please, by no means will we trying to muddy the waters and put mud on your face. It's just, again, you got to understand where we're coming from. This has been a long, arduous process. The Board of Selectmen has been good at times. They've been a little bit lackadaisical at other times, but now they're coming around and I think they're understanding and are compassionate enough to understand what's going on, and they're trying their best, and we're hoping for the best. And
Okay.
again, I appreciate it, and please don't take this in the wrong way, please.
Okay. Well, I
I
appreciate it.
wasn't trying to insult you. If you want to see insults, I'll share some of the letters I get.
No. I mean, we've already gone over 15 minutes. But I mean, moving forward, I'm bringing up what I will do if you guys, could do that for me, and then I can follow up with Drew. And like I said, I'll knock on your door, and when you tell me the times are bad, I'll drive through the neighborhoods. I'll do what I can do, and I'm sure I can talk to my board too, and come up with some solutions if they can, or what I've heard at times and things to that nature.
That would involve
Yeah,
you
always
having to give us your cell phone number so we can call you at 2 a.m.
I'm asking you for now to tell me when the times are.
Yeah,
Well,
but we don't know.
But
You
We
you
can't
don't
gotta
know that.
understand,
No,
if-
we don't know that.
Depends
We
on the
wake,
wind.
yeah, we wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and
Well,
we can't get back
everyone's
to
telling
sleep.
me it's at certain times that,
Well, but we don't know what the wind is going to do until it
Okay.
happens.
all right.
Thank you.
But giving me my phone number is, I have no problem, but the only thing is, I'm not a paid servant for town of Scituate, and I could see it being a nightmare. A dog just barked, and I heard it even worse. So there is a thing, if you,
I wouldn't share it. I would
Okay.
not share your
Well,
phone number.
I'm sorry to say, I've heard that before in my businesses and my ventures. And
All
I
right,
get
well,
phone calls
thank
from
you thank you for listening to us.
Okay.
Hopefully we can move forward and get some relief from this.
Okay. I
More than,
appreciate it.
April through October, 11 to 6.
Okay.
May, you
I-
said, or is it
I
April or
appreciate
May?
I thought it was May. I thought it was May to October. Yeah,
I
May.
will try to find out. I thought it was April, but I will find out and we'll get back to you on that.
It's 6 months. It's May, I believe.
It
May,
is?
October, right? May, June, July, August, September, October. May, I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And we're still, I mean, last night it was waking us up all night. So it's all year round.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Next one is Becky with Private Well Owners. Is she on?
I am. Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me. So I'm the chair of the Water Resources Commission. I don't know why I look so fuzzy. I don't know if you guys are having trouble seeing me too, but so the Water Resources Commission, for as long as I've been on it, which has been about 8 years, has talked about working with the Board of Health to require private wells to follow the outdoor water use restrictions. So this would private irrigation wells. And there were some conversations had back when the regulations were redone a few years ago. And then Drew and I were communicating, I think as we started communicating back in 2019, and kind of were waiting for a board to come together. So I just heard from Drew that this would be a good time to kind of present this idea and kind of present some of the information we found and see, kind of get a sense of how the Board of Health felt about moving forward or needing more information or having more questions. So so it's generally accepted that private wells or irrigation wells draw on the same groundwater supply as a municipal water supply. So I have a letter of support from the North and South Rivers Watershed Association that I can send to Drew to pass to everybody that has a lot of really great information in there. There's also an excellent report that was done in 2017, the Mass Rivers Private Irrigation Wells Report, that also, again, says this idea that wells generally draw on the same groundwater reserves that support public water supplies to sustain streams and rivers. So, we had that big drought in 2016. Last summer, we went into a total water ban, I think earlier than maybe ever before, due to increased water use and some infrastructure issues. So, public water supply users were not able to water almost all summer. And again, we were in a total ban, I think from the end of June, which is unheard of. So the thinking here would be that, again, private wells would be required to follow those same restrictions. So that would be from May 1st until September 30th. If you have an in-ground irrigation system, you can only water once a week based on your precinct. And then as those restrictions tighten over the course of the summer, as we the basin tends to get more and more stressed, we require that you follow those. So that goes to handheld water only, and then no outdoor water use at all. So what else? There are a handful of towns in Massachusetts that have similar regulations. Most go through bylaw. Wenham, Hamilton, Topsfield, Falmouth, and Ipswich are the 5 big ones. Some have been required to do so as a result of over withdrawing from the Water Management Act permits. Some have done it voluntarily. So this would be something we would do voluntarily to help support and sustain the resource that is stressed right now and has been for a number of years. And again, to just kind of bring all users of the water supply to the same standard when it comes to watering lawns. So that's kind of my basic spiel. Samantha Woods from the North and South Rivers Watershed Association is also on the line. And so again, my goal was really to just introduce this idea. Since I last spoke to Drew, the Water Resources Commission has worked on it. We have a new outdoor water use restriction bylaw that will be before town meeting that addresses a lot of these issues, but doesn't include private wells.
Okay. And I came on at the end. There was a lot of going on with private wells when we brought that in. I think it's been about 3 years that they put these different ones in effect. And I know we had some different well people in that brought up different scenarios and what they thought. So that's something I'd have to go back and look at those.
Okay.
But your kind of talent and what I'm hearing is, even though I get someone to come in and build my private well and drill down and pay $10,000, and if I'm wrong, tell me, you're saying we still tap into Scituate water, even though I've drilled down and gotten into a private well?
It's most likely.
Okay.
We don't have a map of the aquifer and each well that has been drilled and all of that.
Okay.
But as I mentioned before, it's generally accepted that that's all connected. So that, and again, I'll be happy to I'll send it to Drew, both the letter from the North and South Rivers Watershed Association, which really spells it out, as well as this other great report that was done back in January 2017.
Okay, because that was my understanding when I came on, that if I'm paying $10,000 and I'm drilling a well, that part, but I could be totally wrong. And, if you could send that would be great.
Yeah.
To do.
Absolutely.
Doug, do we know how many private wells we have in town?
So
Offhand,
I have some numbers here. So according to the EEA well drilling portal site, which is where I was directed a couple of years ago, I think it looks like there are 144 registered wells, 51 of which are irrigation wells. I don't think that is a comprehensive list, though. I mean, it doesn't go back that far. But that is the information as of, I don't know when I pulled that, in the last 6 months to a year, I pulled that.
Okay. Does
I
anyone else?
also wanted to ask, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead.
So someone on the commission had heard, it wasn't like, are you still issuing permits for irrigation wells? Someone had heard that the Board of Health had stopped issuing permits for irrigation wells, but it could have been a game of telephone. So I thought I would.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Drew,
We are issuing permits for irrigation wells.
Okay.
Was there a stoppage at some point?
Not since I have been here. They might have put a stop in, or they might have put a moratorium in while they were getting ready to create the new private well regulations.
Okay.
In like 2016, 17, before my time, before Jones' time. So I'm not really sure.
Okay.
But
yeah, I don't remember anything being in there since I've been here. And like I said, I got here right after everything had been voted on, and I was coming in as we were having the meetings of going into explaining the laws that they had put into place.
Right. Okay.
So, Wendy or Karen, anything else questions?
No, I think that's something that I think is a good idea for the general benefit of the town. It is my understanding that, the water is the water, whether it's in a private residence or, public areas. So I would definitely be interested in seeing more about that, please.
Okay. So Becky, you'll send that over to Drew for us?
I will, yes.
All right, I appreciate that. Anyone else have anything that's on? I'm not sure who's on with who. Samantha, do you have anything?
Well, yeah, sure, since I came. It was a big, long commute from my bedroom. Anyways, my name's Samantha Woods. I'm the director for the North and South Rivers, and we had written a letter in support with some citations of, studies that would help you to defend the fact that groundwater is, all commingled. Eventually all water comes to one place in a watershed. And so certainly private wells they don't tap into some underground river from New Hampshire. So
so the Poland Springs River, we don't get it from?
No.
Okay.
So within a watershed, all water is connected.
Okay.
And and you're always in a watershed to something. So something to think about isn't just the, from the watershed's perspective, we're very concerned with how water at the surface is being drained by groundwater being pumped beneath, right?
Can
So
I-
if you're pumping groundwater and then surface waters, water will go down at the surface, because in Massachusetts, the kind of geology we have, the surface waters in the summertime, which you're seeing, are being fed by groundwater, and not, certainly runoff contributes to surface waters, but it doesn't sustain it in the summertime or when we don't have precipitation. So that's just, sort of basic science around the how surface waters and groundwaters are related.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? If we adopt it and Cohasset, Hingham, Hull, Marshfield, Norwell don't adopt it, aren't all of our water supplies doesn't just stop at the end of North Scituate when we're getting ready to go into Hull? So if I'm drilling a well in North Scituate for a private irrigation, aren't I affecting the water in Cohasset too? If it's no matter how, 100 yards, 300 yards, right?
I think that gets to the point of what watershed you might be in, which you're right, does not align with the town boundaries. So you would want to look at that. The challenge, I think, from a policy and enforcement point of view is it makes it very difficult for the town to enforce. And there's an equity issue around that, to try to make sure that people are not, so that everybody's playing on the same field. It's a level playing field for everybody. So in this case, this bylaw, there are bylaws that the State Department of Environmental Protection actually provides to water suppliers to regulate private wells, and they encourage water suppliers to do that, just for that reason, to have everybody playing by the same rules, because otherwise you've got, a small group over here who are able to do it either because of their economics or because they might be slightly outside of a watershed that's impacted. And I just think that it becomes very difficult for the communities to manage that.
So how many watersheds are in Scituate?
So watersheds are a really interesting kind of phenomena, right? It depends on what you want to talk about a watershed to, right? The watershed to the Mississippi River is like half of the United States, right? But the watershed to the Ohio River is a smaller subset to that. So in Scituate, you have the watershed to the First Herring Brook. But you could also have a smaller subset within that. You also have other streams and rivers that, like the Bound Brook, right? That would be a different watershed. Then there's an area that probably goes right to the ocean. But you'd have to delineate those. And there are maps available to take a look at that. But I think then you find yourself having overlay districts that would become untenable.
Well, that's yeah.
I just think you would find that to be, okay, so everybody's going to move to the water-rich someplace district. I mean, you could do it that way if you really only wanted to protect your public drinking water supply. But I think it's not.
But I'm just saying, what effect do we have on the watershed if we adopt it and all of our neighboring towns don't?
Well, your drinking water supply is largely within the town of Scituate. So
Okay.
that if you just wanted to look at the drinking water supply watershed and apply the rule to that, I think
Okay.
some small part of it does float into the other towns, but it's not the substantive land area.
And have you approached the other towns to introduce this type of proposal?
I have discussed it with other towns, yes. Mhm.
Like
That was my
Norwell,
question.
Hull, Cohasset?
All the places that have no water, sure. Except
I'll shut up
Cohasset
now.
has plenty of water.
Is that true? Do they have more of a supply?
Cohasset? Yeah,
Yeah.
they're fairly water rich.
Interesting.
Because they have the reservoir, the Erin River Reservoir. and they don't have a very large population. So it's like the MWRA, right? That's a big water supply
Yep.
that would take 5 years to drain. It doesn't help though when we have a drought and people are watering their lawns. That's really difficult to have everybody play by the same rule. I think is the challenge that we face. And if we're going to make certain areas, I just think it's very challenging and an inequitable kind of problem.
Okay.
For the town to manage when you have, and in your situation, town of Scituate's water supply is, in the summertime, and that's the only time you really have problems, is a challenge because of the outdoor watering.
Okay. All right. Jean, I see a hand up. You're on mute.
I have 11 Hatherley Road, and I'm all in favor of a bylaw change that would require.
I can't really hear you. I'm sorry. Can you speak closer?
Yep. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry about that. I just wanted to say that I'm all in favor of changing the bylaws so that private wells are subject to the same regulations as the municipal water supply. But I do wonder about enforcement. I mean, we have, you have the water bans, and it does not seem like that people are getting cited very often. I see a lot of watering going on during the water bans, and I'm wondering if there's anything the town can do to improve the number of citations that go out. And I know that's not a Board of Health issue, but since Becky and Sam are here, I thought I'd just make that comment.
Okay.
Well, Jean, some of that might also be that private well owners, those could be private wells, homes that have private irrigation.
I know some of them that are not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dean, how many times did you call and let the water department know about those issues? Because I know we were out there the next day issuing citations, and it takes a phone call. Seriously, we issued quite a few fines last year, to the point where we had the police coming out to give them.
Glad to hear it. Okay, I'll start calling. Thanks.
Thank you.
Becky and Samantha, I think, we're obviously interested in learning more about this. And, I would also like to hear about a campaign, if this is going to go into effect, an educational, campaign of some sort that we would be able to share with the town, because I think, the real change comes from a better understanding of the issue instead of just saying, don't do that.
Absolutely.
So would there be a commitment from the watershed to help, get the word out if this is going to be?
Yeah, so I would say, Wendy, we have been doing education for many years. And in fact, tonight we're starting our Gardening Green Expo, which the town is part of, and it's been publicized. We publicize rain barrels with the town. And of course, there's always more education that can be done. We're actually in the middle of a water conservation PSA campaign with the town that we're building, that is all about what we need water for and what we don't need water for, right? We don't need water for lawns, but we do need it for firefighting. We need it for public health. We need it for drinking. We need it for all these very important things. But I would say that there's a small cohort of people that, resist that kind of effort. And that's where regulation really does matter. And so that combination of good cop, bad cop between Kevin and me, really matters. That and because we are getting more people, I think, to be very aware of this issue. And I think that it is becoming more normalized to not water your lawn than to water it. But old habits die hard. And I think there's still a small number of people that probably are doing that, and or have come to some, because we haven't told them it's not the right thing to do, they go and put a private irrigation well in, thinking that somehow their water comes from another planet, like it's somehow different water. and that's
Well,
okay.
if you wanted to provide, educational packet that was given to people who apply for a well, I think that would be important. I don't want to spend too much time, Doug. I know
Yep.
you're on the clock, but we've
Yep.
definitely heard, what you've had to say.
But I
I'd be
just
happy
wanted
to
say
provide
that I
materials
think
to the Board of Health
Okay.
for them to distribute to the private irrigation folks. That's not a problem.
And I
right.
think, while we do a lot of education on water conservation and better water use and brown is the new green and all of that, just specifically to target this idea of where does your water come from? I mean, I know that was something that people really focused a lot on maybe 10, 15 years ago, or even 5 to 10 years ago, but really getting back to that idea of where does your water come from? And I think we could do a targeted campaign, flyers, brochures, Facebook posts, whatever it may be, to be coupled along with any sort of change in regulation.
Yeah, I think Kevin's doing everything he can, but if, we're looking backwards at some people that already have wells, but moving forward, I think that would be the best way to let people who are applying for a well, to have them know upfront what the regulations are, so Kevin's not chasing them.
Okay. Lisa, did you have something to add?
Yeah, hi, Lisa Birchbola, 52 Elm Street in Scituate. Sorry, I'm off site right now, so bear with me. I just had a question on that regard because of education. So many people come to Sustainable Scituate and say, why should I be watching my own watering when the Toll Brother development got approved? What is the right thing to say, the accurate thing to say when people make that comment? Toll Brothers water, was that a well? Is that not part of the issue? I mean, the public perception needs refining in terms of new development versus habits of the existing population. People use that as a cop-out. Like, why should I watch my watering if the Toll Brothers moves forward? What is the right answer to that?
Well, I know the Toll House Brothers thing has gone into so many wells permits of drilling. I don't have the exact number, but I know they did drilling, had permits that they pulled for drilling for irrigation. And some of it is just it's not used for it's just irrigation that they're using it for, from what I understand.
All the irrigation that I'm aware of is from well water. There's nothing from municipal that's going on that. And we've checked them. We've checked the water to make sure there's no chlorine or anything else in it, or fluoride. So it's well water. I know they've put in quite a few wells to get the amount of water that they use now.
Lisa, go back, or I don't know, Drew or Joan can easily point you to one of our meetings that we actually had with Toll Brothers, where we asked a lot of questions because they are, from my understanding, fracking to get to the water. You can listen to that and kind of hear what they had to say about what's going on over there.
Okay, yeah, I've heard many concerns from people, engineers that I know, and I just want to give the right response. Whatever the town has done in due diligence to make sure that resources are protected, or that it's a vetted, process for them to get approval for watering. Personally, I don't think they should be. I don't understand why we going forward give irrigation rights for property owners, but that's my 2 cents. I don't know how Samantha feels about that, but we need water to eat and drink, but we don't, to hygiene, eating, drinking, I get, but irrigation of lawns, I don't get. But that's my.
Do you work with Samantha and Becky?
I'm very familiar with them. I try to join hands occasionally, but we haven't done a lot of collaboration, but I would love to do more. I support Samantha and the Watershed Association full force.
Well, why don't you guys kind of, get your thoughts together, and then we can look at it in the future.
Okay.
Becky,
all right.
Just to summarize, you'll get that over to Drew, right?
Yes.
Okay. And Samantha has behind her a lot of water. Maybe she would send that to us.
She has her own watershed.
So you were wrong to put that up. So, I thank you for your time. Sorry for the runoff, and I know Claire has been waiting anxiously. Anything else?
That's it for me.
Okay. Thank you again.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Yep. Claire, sorry for holding on, but this is for trash and recycling hauling regulations.
Hi, yes, and no problem. I know how public meetings go. And it's not just me speaking. We have also Todd Kep, who is the Mass DEP Municipal Assistance Coordinator. Kevin Cafferty is, you know, from your Department of Public Works, and a few of your citizens as well. And I worked with Becky many years ago in another persona. So hello, Becky. Hi, yes, I'm Claire Galkowski. I'm the director of the South Shore Recycling Cooperative. Kevin is my boss, is the chairman. And several of the towns in your area have adopted what are called private haul or recycling regulations, which is a way to level the trash playing field with town programs. And quite a number of people in Scituate are using private haulers by subscription now rather than buying transfer station passes and using the transfer station. So also the state of Massachusetts has what are called waste bans, where they prohibit the disposal of paper, cardboard, bottles, and containers, among several other things like tires and car batteries. So technically it is illegal for people to dispose of recyclable materials in their trash. However, many private haulers offer trash only collection, which is less expensive than trash plus recycling. But as a matter of kind of legality and trying to, you know, regulate them from different directions, because it's difficult to regulate at the end of the waste pipe. Many municipalities are regulating their haulers to have them require recycling as a bundled service with the trash collection, because recyclables should not be going in people's trash. And if they don't have recycling service, they're not going to be recycling by and large. So, so we've drafted some regulations, and today going through them, we realize they need a little bit more work. But what they do is they require private haul. First of all, they require all generators to separate the recyclables from the trash and make sure that their trash hauler, that their trash service is all inclusive. So that's one angle of it. So that would apply to both residents and businesses. And also it would require the haulers to provide bundled service of trash plus recycling in separate trucks. You can't mix the trash and the recycling in one truck and expect it to be separated. That doesn't work, because some of them will tell you that they do that. It does not happen. So it's too degraded by the time it gets to the facility to be properly sorted if it's mixed with the trash. So so what this would do with this would level the playing field for your transfer station, which is seeing a loss of subscriptions. And you know, the fewer people that are using it, the more they have to each pay to cover the fixed costs. The fixed costs don't change if half the town is using it or 3/4 of the town is using it. So, so we're asking it for the Board of Health to consider requiring your private haulers to provide bundled recycling services at single price to all their private customers, and to report to the Board of Health and demonstrate that they are doing that with, you know, what is the word I'm looking for? Primary, like trip tickets. The word is escaping me right now. Maybe Todd, if Todd can.
Dump
jump in.
tickets, yeah.
So you know.
Claire, can I jump in for 1 second?
Please do.
And first of all, thank you, Claire and Todd, for coming. We brought this up. Claire had been talking about it to me for a little while. I know she had been working with Lisa Batola on it, and I listened to it. But where it really came up is at the advisory board meeting recently, we were talking where our revenue is down at the transfer station. And we had mentioned to the advisory board, I asked them, I said, how many members go to the transfer station? So I'll ask the same here with the Board of Health. How many members? I hope everybody goes to the transfer station on a regular basis.
I do.
Okay.
And if I
Two-
don't recycle, I get yelled at.
2 out of 3, that's pretty good. So what we had is the advisory board, I think, was 5 to 9 that didn't go. So I started giving them a hard time, and one of the members had said, well, it's great. I don't have to go. I don't have to recycle, and it's cheaper, when you consider that I don't have to recycle. So, immediately the next day I was on the phone, talking to Claire about it and trying to get something going so that, we can recycle, because, the right thing to do is recycling. So, I realized the biggest problem is you have a senior couple and, they don't recycle, or they only get rid of 1 barrel, or they get rid of hardly any waste. And that's going to be difficult to deal with. But, I think overall, people need to recycle and take it seriously. And I think that's the hardest issue we have here.
Do you think it's down because people don't want to recycle? Are you saying down within the last year or just trending?
It was down the last year. Our waste is, significant. We have a lot of trash going in, and the recycling rates have been horrible, have been very tough. It's obviously a lot better than if you don't recycle, but it's been hard, and we're potentially looking at a rate hike in the very near future.
So just to make sure I understand tonight's request, it's that Scituate tells every trash vendor that's able to work in the town of Scituate that you must provide
Recycling with the trash
part of your
service.
contract, period.
Correct.
Okay. Do you have?
But that has to be at the same price, right? You want to regulate the price on it also, right?
That the vendor
charges.
They can't compete, or how is that?
I just know isn't that what you said though, Kev?
No, so it's a price. It's kind of really doesn't matter in my mind. It's if you are going to supply a service in town, they have to recycle and dispose of the trash, not just, well, we gave them an option, but they didn't want to take it because it was an extra $14.
Okay,
Oh, sorry, Drew.
No, you go ahead, Wendy.
I was just gonna say, do all of the current vendors that work in town offer recycling as one of their services?
Yes.
I don't know.
Cases, no?
Well, I can't think of one that doesn't.
If they offer it, the private residents don't necessarily have 2 receptacles for.
Yeah, but they don't have to take it.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, and the price.
They all offer it, but they don't have to take it.
Right, and this isn't setting the price. This is saying that they have to provide one price. It doesn't say what the price has to be for each vendor. Just that they can't say, well, trash costs X and recycling costs Y. It's the whole thing together is a single service.
And is are we gonna have, I mean, I don't know each vendor, but are we gonna have vendors that can't provide that, so then they couldn't be licensed to work in Scituate? That's definitely not they all do it?
Yes, they all offer it.
But I think Claire nailed it though, in terms of the pricing. If the residents right now get the option to pay less and not recycle, they may be opting for that from a cost standpoint. If it's bundled, they wouldn't be able to really get out. There's no reason to get away from it, I guess, unless they truly just don't want to put things in a different barrel that is supplied. I just wanted to make the comment, Sustainable Scituate helped with drafting this ordinance, couldn't actually believe it didn't already exist because of a group of students, the Scituate Environmental Group. Louisa Kinsley, a young high school student, came to us and said, I'm investigating recycling in the schools and we're following the trail of the collection, who does what. And then they got to the end point and realized there were no receptacles, no ability to get recyclables from the schools to haulers or ultimate destinations where materials were recycled. And the kids actually couldn't believe it because there were some internal environmental groups trying to collect it at least and work on the environmental piece of collecting it in the schools. Kids are for this stuff. And the other thing that came up when we got discussing it was some of the kids were like, gee, I don't see my parents recycling. And these were kids that had in homes where private haulers were, contracted, and they weren't seeing that their parents had a separate bin for recyclable materials. So it just kind of kept a conversation going. And honestly, we didn't have all the answers. So it kind of, I remember the Abu Dhabi days when there was the paper recycling receptacles at the elementary schools. But beyond that, I wasn't sure how the schools collected recyclables. It seems like there is no effort to get out of the cafeteria or other, areas in the school, a separation of recyclable materials, which from the kids' standpoint was really concerning and somewhat shocking. So this was just like an idea of maybe mandating some recycling possibilities for all haulers. And again, by bundled pricing, it makes the hauler at least provide the huge opportunity between the receptacle to get the commingled stuff away from the rubbish and the refuse, so that it was like a no-brainer to recycle, whether it be the schools, whether it be a strip mall, a business district that's privately handled for hauling, or residents. So it was, we circled back to DEP and Claire and said, well, what do most towns do? And then we looked at ordinances in other cities and towns and said, well, I thought this already existed in Scituate. So we just drafted it based on some input from other cities and towns and help from Todd and Claire. So I don't know if Louisa made it onto this meeting, but it really was, I have to say, this was a youth spearheaded initiative. And we just kind of, went through investigating it and drafting this ordinance because the kids couldn't believe that we didn't have it already. Some of the kids are on this environmental group, and at home, they're not recycling because their parents are paying a private hauler. And as for the low, participation at the transfer station last year, I think a lot of it was due to fear of COVID, going there in a group setting, even though there were masks required. I think people in general were just happy to stay at home doing anything during the pandemic and still are. So that might account for some of the drop in fees being
The tonnages, I believe, are higher. The problem that we have is the sales of stickers are lower.
The sales, yeah. Well, there's job loss. Who knows? I don't know why all of that is happening, but it would be so great to both, back in the day, I remember when the transfer station used to post how much money it made on the recyclables. I guess we don't have that situation anymore, but it certainly seems from an environmental standpoint, something the kids want to promote. And when they can't, talk about it from an informed standpoint as to whether haulers actually provide the service, even for the schools, that was kind of what drove this. I just wanted to offer that out for context.
Okay. Kevin, do you think some of the reason is because of you had to go online and getting stickers and, again, when you talk about some of the elderly or whatever not having computers, could that be part of the issue? Do you know?
I don't think so, because if people could not use a computer, they called in and we had people that helped them get the stickers. So I don't think that was a fact or a factor. Some people did drop off checks and they received them. So, I don't think that's the case. We always have conditions at the transfer station where people share stickers and they go from car to car, especially summer residents. And that's something that we watch. We check the license plates a lot to make sure they match up with the sticker.
Okay. Do we have anything? Because, I know in Scituate, there is a lot of people that have a summer resident or whatever. Do we have like a special,
We do not.
Okay.
No.
All right. So Karen or Wendy, anything else? I guess Claire, the next steps is probably getting everything and then maybe swinging back again. Is that what you guys were ultimately looking for?
Well, I think we'd like to get a sense of whether you'd be interested in moving forward with this, and we can finish up the draft. We thought it was done, but then you take a look at it at the last minute and go, oh, geez, should have defined this that way. So we have a few changes, but you have the basic document, which is I think you do anyway.
Yeah, Drew,
Yeah, we do. I just have, so if my grandmother lives alone and she doesn't go to the dump, if she doesn't have if she doesn't have a recycle bin and a regular trash bin out there, even if she's just gonna throw trash away, she has to recycle.
Yes, everybody
Yeah.
is supposed to be recycling. That's the way it's supposed to have been for the past 25 years in the state of Massachusetts.
What do you mean?
We have declining disposal capacity. By the year 2027, we will have no landfills left in the state of Massachusetts for municipal solid waste. All that we have left will be the waste to energies, which can only handle half of the trash that's generated in the state of Massachusetts. And the materials that are being disposed of, recyclable materials are valuable. It's makes no sense to dispose of them. The prices are coming back up. It is a commodity, so the values fluctuate, but they're coming back strong now, and there are new policies coming ahead that should continue that strengthening. So the disposal costs are already high, and they're going to go much higher once all our landfills are gone, especially if the out-of-state landfills start turning us away. So
There's no relief for the senior citizen.
I'm sorry, what, Mr.
There's
Steele?
no relief for the senior citizen that doesn't want to.
Well, I think the transfer station offers a senior price, do they, Kevin?
She doesn't drive.
On the stickers. Then Drew, you could go to her house and pick it up. I know you do that to a couple people now.
I do that already for one Scituate resident that can't drive. I go and I pick her stuff up already.
I think a smart private hauler would have a tiered system. So if you only want to put out your trash and recycling every 2 weeks, you could get a smaller container and charge a lower price. That's something that a smart business person would tap into if they, have tiered levels of pricing. So if you generate a lot of trash, you pay more than, the little old lady that doesn't generate much at all.
And Drew, if you can come up with something that, that would fit this, that would be a perfect case scenario. It would take care of everybody.
Well,
you heard of any other towns doing something?
I know. I look at, I mean, I'd like to have some type of variance in there, but then it gets to economics. What about the woman who, just because of a cost wise, and that's all I'm bringing up. And again, I'm just bringing it up. I'm not a voting member or anything else. I'm just bringing it up, that's all.
In the town of Hull, they don't have a municipal service, and they do have a private hauler ordinance, which requires the same thing that we're asking here. The neighbors are creative. Sometimes neighbors double and triple up for one subscription. There are a lot of, ways that you can combine resources and things like that. If you're in a situation where you're really not generating much trash, things that there are ways around it, which creative people can always find.
I think my only question is, is it legal for us to mandate, is that a violation of, I don't know. I mean, are we able, that would go to Drew, Doug.
That's why we brought Todd. He might be able to speak on that. And he was here for the whole thing and listened to wind turbines too. So I apologize, Todd, but thanks for sticking in there. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, no, I can. My name's Todd Kepp. I'm the local municipal assistance coordinator through Mass DEP. So just real quick, I manage 31, not manage, but I look out for 31 municipalities as far as solid waste and recycling goes, and I help them inform as far as grants go, as well as technical assistance and just general stuff. And I've known Kevin now for 5 years. I think I've been here. So I like the beard, bud. It's growing in nice. But as far as legal goes, there is nothing that states you can't have this. There are a number, probably, I don't know, what are we up to, Claire? There's got to be at least 10 or 12 in my district alone that have private hauler regulations or comprehensive hauler regulations, which is what we're proposing here. Oh, looks like we lost. Oh, there's Claire.
Hingham has generator requirements. Every generator has to recycle.
Yep.
Hanson, Kingston, Cohasset, Hull.
Halifax.
So yes, there are a lot of them, and
there's a mix. So some are drop off municipalities like you guys, and there's other that are curbside that have the same thing. There's nothing illegal about this. It's perfectly fine. The state won't do it on their end because it's a local municipal issue. And not only that, but the state already has the state waste bans, which dictate you're not supposed to be throwing perfectly good recyclables into the trash.
Then
So
why doesn't the state enforce that?
they do. They have waste
Why don't
bans.
they enforce it in Scituate? Then we wouldn't have to pass this regulation.
Unfortunately, there's not enough money to hire that many people. So that
So
comes
it's a
down.
money issue like the turbine.
As far as hiring people, yeah, there are a number of state waste ban inspectors, and then what they'll do is they go to the end site. So they'll go to CMAS, they'll go to the MRFs, they'll go to other disposal sites, the landfills, and they'll wait and they'll look at every single load that comes in. And if there's a certain amount of recyclable material in there, I think the threshold's right around 20% or more. They get a letter, and then it progressively gets worse. So, and by worse, I mean fines. So it's something that we do look for. And that's not my division. That's another division. I'm here to help, not here to hurt. So, but these bylaws and these regulations have worked out very well. And it's interesting because, you might get some pushback from some haulers, and that's fine. But what happens is that this puts everybody on an even playing field. So right now you've got some people offering recycling, you got some that aren't. The town does. Your sticker price is set, but the problem is you've got people coming in at a lower rate, right? And so they're eating away. They're starting to tear away at your structure, your infrastructure, which at some point down the road will go away if there's not enough revenue to sustain it. So what this does is it creates an even playing field between the private haulers and the other private haulers and the town. So everybody has to do the same thing, which is not just good for the environment, but that's the way it should be done.
It sounds like the haulers too. I mean, if they're doing it in other towns, they're not going to be shocked if we come forward and say we want them to do the same thing. So it's not like we're the first group to ever do this either.
You're not the first one off the boat. So,
and I don't think we want to be the last either. So we need to consider this.
These are extremely common. I would say a third of the state, maybe a little bit more now, has these in place out of 351 munis. So my counterparts that work with me are fantastic at getting these, written right. And pretty much everybody in my district has very similar regulations. But there's a monetary factor which comes down to the grants that we work on that will also benefit the town. Comprehensive hauler regulations are worth 2 points, which I think you guys are 600 or $1,000 a point. That adds up. So it also gives you those extra points that will keep you in the program as well, which is really what we want to do. We want to make sure everybody's in that program and getting rewarded for doing the right thing.
The other comment I would make from just input we get, people call us, complain, thinking we're part of the town and we're just a little group. Is the amount of transient voters that come in the summer that think, recycling is something that's being done on a public collection basis. And they're like, where's the recycling bins? And they call us and they email us. So if all the haulers just had to provide that option, it might help on, like, I know I'm a member at the boat club and we use the transfer station and we sort our recycling when we bring it. But I don't know how the Coast Guard people or other Cole Parkway vendors, I'm not sure how they deal with recycling, but I know when Luminaria or Heritage Days happens, it's a real challenge because people are looking for recycling receptacles and they're not always enough or available or whatnot. So if the haulers just had to provide some kind of collection bin, it might help. I mean, it might be a benefit to the town overall.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Wendy, Karen, I mean, are you interested in, hearing more on this? And I know we've gotten some literature on it, and maybe after everything is filled up, I mean, I'm willing to look forward to it more.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay.
So it looks like Claire fell off. So I think Lisa.
Claire had enough of us.
Yeah, Lisa, I think we.
Unfortunately, she's putting her cat down, I think, so.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, if Claire and, Kevin and yourself, Todd, and Lisa put the things together, we can definitely look at it. And as a group, if there's more questions or whatever come, I mean, I agree, with recycling and all that, and to look forward to it.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody.
So I guess the next would be director report. Drew?
Okay, so we have 7 plans under 45-day review, 8 plans under engineering review that we're waiting to get back. 20 plans are waiting for their certificate of compliance, and for as-built, we have 17 in failure. Right now, we are in phase 4, step 1 of the COVID reopening. It increases the outside capacity for people to gather at public events and weddings and things like that. Outside capacity now is 150. Inside capacity is 100. You can now dance at weddings if you are going to be going to a wedding. Stadium capacities in ballparks will be at 12%. So Fenway will have an opening day. I'm still waiting for them to say that, all the boards of health people that have been working so hard like they did for the Super Bowl, that they'll send 12% capacity of, first responders in Massachusetts. So that'd be a good thing, but we'll see. They've also changed the quarantine travel mandate. It is now just an advisory. So if someone has left Massachusetts for more than 24 hours and it was not for work, when they come back, we are advising that they either get a positive test, a negative test 72 hours prior to entering back into the state. And if not, we advise that they quarantine for the 14 days. But again, that is an advisory only right now. We were fortunate enough to get additional vaccine. We did hold our second clinic for over 85 back on March, I believe it was the 18th. We did it, March 18th, down at the community building in the harbor. It went fantastic. We had no issues. We have scheduled another clinic. It is a first dose. It is the Moderna vaccine. The town administrator, Mr. Boudreau, announced it today. The link was on the town webpage at noontime. It has sold out very quickly. I believe it's in excess of over 300 doses that we're going to be giving out down there. We've also been working with the Scituate Housing Authority, and we are about 90% sure that we will be getting some vaccine, and hopefully we'll be setting up a clinic over there specifically for the Housing Authority. That's one of the groups that were identified by the state that has vaccine allocated separately. So because it was a separate allocation of vaccine, we had the ability to try to get it. So hopefully, keep our fingers crossed, we should be doing something over there soon. With that, I know it's been a long night. I'll end it right there.
Okay. Old business?
I have about a half a dozen invoices that need permission to be signed for perk tests. And all perk tests, yeah.
Okay. I give permission to sign.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then I guess we have to, meeting minutes approval. Do we need to make a motion on that, right?
Yeah, motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Okay,
Motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Well-oiled machine this is.
Anyone else out there that, I mean, I see a couple other people, I'm not sure if they were on or needed anything to bring about before we make a motion to adjourn. Okay. With
Motion
that,
to adjourn.
make a, someone want to make a motion?
Doug, we're way,
Aye, Doug.
we're way ahead of you.
We
All
already-
right,
Motion to adjourn.
all right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Time for.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great
Be
week.
safe.
Mhm.